Welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host,
Charlie Seymour.
and I'm Tim Sternberg. Hit it, Nick. We are back with another awesome episode of Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. What a great episode last week. We're talking about some of our favorite movie franchises of the summer. Well, it became a franchise thing because, you like to talk about and understandably so. It's hard to pinpoint one movie in a franchise, but yeah, I thought it was good.
There's just so many to pick from, and you can't. I mean, you could make a list of franchises, so
It was good.
you got to know where to draw the line. And
It's good conversation.
I think it was good. You had a concrete list, and mine was all over the place. So we had a little bit of both.
Surprise. Back to the Future.
Surprise. The biggest surprise of all.
Shocker. Oh, shocker. So this week, we were talking and we figured we can talk about, our favorite things in pop culture. This podcast is, the pop culture and sports podcast. And I think our audience pretty much knows where we stand with our sports. You're a Bears fan, you're a Blackhawks fan, if you're the diehard, the biggest Cubs fan I know personally. I'm a Mets fan, less of a Bills fan, because I'm not, I love Josh Allen, the Bills, but baseball is my thing. I love the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat. Those are kind of my teams. But so we kind of have that established. And when we first met, so it's no surprise by now, hopefully our audience knows how you and I met. We met in Atlanta filming the game show We Are Family, which aired on Fox this last winter. Great time with the True Crew. And we bonded. You kind of talked me off a ledge, and
A couple ledges.
A couple ledges. That's how we met. And we'll save that story for another day in the future when I'm on a rocking chair or something. So yeah, I think what bonded a lot of us and a lot of the cast too, I would say, is the fact that we were all kind of pop culture gurus. That's why we were cast for the show. We all have our love for it, and we would literally stay up, and this is no joke, folks. I mean, in that True Hilton Hotel in Lithia Springs, Georgia, we would stay up until 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, just talking about our favorite stuff in pop culture. And we had some really rich conversations about what we like, and we would also spend the days at the while the taping was going on. There was long days sitting on the tables, big giant picnic tables, talking with other people, even of course great Al, talking, who has a podcast too about what's it called,
Grizzly
Grizzly
Nation.
Nation, on hot dogs. So Al is a great dude. But we would talk to Al and other people about our wonderful Maria, who was drawing. Well, she's part of the True Crew, but drawing, coloring. It was awesome. The whole experience was great. But we get to know everybody and what their likes and dislikes were, and have long conversations. That was a big explanation, but you get what I'm saying.
I have an original Al 1 of 1 art piece of artwork from behind the scenes when we were waiting in the holding cell.
Really?
So it's perfect for pop culture.
Do you have it on you?
It's up. I can. It's
upstairs.
Oh
no, you don't have to get it. But describe it.
I'll describe. Oh, it's so okay. Well, let's see if you can figure it out with
Is it a hot dog?
No, it is a person, a pop culture person. It's a silhouette of a person who, if you were looking at his head, you would see just probably 2 pieces of hair.
Is it Anthony Anderson?
No.
Oh.
This is a cartoon character.
Oh, a cartoon. Oh, Charlie Brown?
Close. What do I love
Pig
to
Pen?
quote all the time? Let's just say that this person might be in your background right now.
Oh, Homer Simpson.
It's Homer.
Oh,
I have an original.
I think I remember seeing that.
And speaking of how funny it is, I just so happen to be wearing, I don't know if you're just listening,
Oh, Duff beer.
but
I
wait, hold
love
on. Let me
that.
turn around. Look at the back of the shirt.
That's freaking awesome.
Can you see it?
Dude, that's amazing. That's amazing.
You can
By
describe
the
it.
way,
You want to describe it?
it's kudos. Yeah, so it's Homer Simpson with a bowl of looks like pasta,
It's ramen, but yeah.
a ramen, and he has a donut in his hand, the
And
pink
he's
glazed
sitting on the
donut.
couch watching TV.
By the way, kudos to you. You look like you lost weight. That's awesome. You're my inspiration. Love that. Love that.
I got a haircut. I
He
got all cleaned up.
Charlie's getting all
Been a
cleaned up
while.
and
It's been
stuff.
a
So
while.
yeah, love that. Um, so yeah, and I know for a fact, by the way, that you are a Simpsons aficionado. We've talked a number of times. The Flora had a category on Simpsons guest stars, and you were all over that. I know that that is like your jam. You
That
love
I don't think
Simpsons.
I go a day without quoting some relation to the Simpsons
Have
without
you ever
even
seen the original
looking at a
sketches on
burger.
Tracy Ullman? Like the original,
Yeah, that the
very
very first
interesting.
episode.
Yeah,
It's
very
crazy how
interesting.
different the animation changed from season 1 to 2 to 3, and then all of a sudden it was pretty much set.
So I was sharing with you, we could talk a little bit later about my comic book collection, but one of the books I have is actually a magazine, Simpsons #1. It was released in 1989. And it was like the first magazine. They had a Simpsons magazine for a while, and it was Bart at a chalkboard saying, "I will not do something." I don't remember exactly what it was, but
Yeah, and he's
you know,
writing it 100 times.
yeah, yeah. But there's no person in this world that's as big of a Simpsons fan as you.
Do
From
you you're a fairly big fan though. You watched it for a while, right?
Yeah,
Are,
clearly.
do you have a favorite episode or a couple that stand out?
I don't. I just
I
love them
do.
all.
I love them
I
all too,
can't.
but there's a few that for me are like over the top the best. Like
Which
for
ones?
me. Okay, I've got a couple. One of them is Hurricane Nettie.
Yeah.
That is that is one that I could almost quote the whole episode without it even being on TV,
That's amazing. That's
which
like me
is
in Back to the Future.
bad for another reason. But and then the other one is probably
That's not
because it's
bad.
one of my favorite guest stars. It is when Steve Martin. Do you know who the episode already just by me saying Steve Martin?
I think so. Um,
He do you know who what character he plays?
no, you have to
He
refresh me.
Homer opposes him in something.
I was running for office.
Yeah, he's running for
Yeah.
sanitation commissioner.
Yes.
That is those. I think those two might be my
Oh my
all
God. What
two
season was
favorite.
that? That was early on, wasn't
That
it?
is season 9, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's season 9.
Season 9 of like 30. What did they
It's
up to?
still
Like
going. They're
30.
still going.
They're in the 30s.
I gotta say also really quick. I obviously am an OG, like an original Simpsons. Like I always watch the old ones,
Now,
and I
mind
gotta say,
you,
you
it came
know,
out,
it's
you were
going
a
on
little kid.
forever. Yeah, exactly. It's going on forever. It's impossible to keep up with. So, you know, I didn't watch it as much, but even now, if I throw on a random episode that I've never seen before, that's like semi, I gotta say, they still make
That
me
has to be
laugh.
rare.
They still
It has
make
to be
me laugh.
rare
Oh,
that there's
no,
an
no,
episode you
no.
haven't seen.
There's a
Oh,
bunch because I stopped watching it religiously, probably like,
so you
I don't
never
know,
bought the DVD
eight.
sets?
I've got lots of the DVD sets from the
Oh,
early days,
I do too.
but
Yeah.
I didn't really continue watching probably, I don't know, after college age ish. I stopped watching it, the new ones all the time,
You
is
know what
what,
I have? I
what do
have
you
to
have?
find it, and if I find it, it's yours. I have so in 19 in early 90s. I mean, it's not from the 90s. It's probably from the well, maybe it's from the early 90s. I used to buy screeners. I don't know if you know what those are. So
Yeah,
screeners,
they're like the what they give the critics to watch the movies. Yeah,
yeah, or for Emmy
I know
consideration.
things.
I know you know things. Sorry, I'm just yeah. I don't know if there's. I guess they're prevalent for your consideration, and
Do you
so
know what a movie is?
I love that. Sorry, buddy. Back in my day, no. So one of the screeners I bought was a Fox screener. So on the screener, it has an episode of Ally McBeal. It tells you how long ago this was.
Okay.
Um, but it has I think it has an episode of The Simpsons on it, and I think if I find it, it's yours. Like you need to have that because you're much more. I didn't buy it for The Simpsons. I just bought it because I like screeners. So if I think I was looking through my stuff. I think I saw it like a couple of months ago. So I definitely know where it is. That tells you the expanse. Well, we've talked about the expanse of my collection. It's your. If I could bring it with me to Chicago, this week when I come this week already. How about that? We're
Wow,
gonna see
time
each other this
flies.
weekend.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
we're
Time
gonna hang out
flies
in
quick.
Chicago. Go Cubs. But yeah, so yeah, if I find it, it's yours. I mean, you're an OG Simpsons fan.
I
That's
am.
just-
I gotta say that's one. I mean, especially in speaking of pop culture, the Simpsons are pop culture. Like they know how to integrate everything. They're amazing.
They're on
Like
my wall for a reason. They're on my wall for a reason. I yeah, Matt Groening. Man, I liked Futurama too. Not as much, but I definitely liked Futurama. I will say I'm a big fan of Family Guy too. I do love Family
yeah, me
Guy.
too.
Seth
I, s-
MacFarlane, I just,
Honestly, I gotta say I still watch the new Family Guys.
I do too. I
They're
do
so great.
too. It's a little edgier than The Simpsons, and I think I've always liked that part of it. And I liked everything that Seth has done. Ted and Orville was a great show. I love the Orville.
The
I
Simpsons
love
walk
that
so
stuff.
Family Guy could run.
Yes, exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's interesting because and I know you were younger, and I don't like throwing the age thing around. I'm just explaining my experience, from that time. When I remember when Fox was a brand new network, and it was a big deal for them to get off the ground. The critics were like, "There's no way they can have a fourth network because it's always been ABC, CBS, and NBC,
The
and
big three.
um, the big three." So Fox in the early days and maybe so more so now, maybe a little bit now, but throughout its lifespan, it's taken risks. It's been a network that, Married with Children was a show that was never, no one ever saw something like that on the air with a guy like Al Bundy putting his hand down his pants or, a show like The Simpsons, which honestly for a cartoon was pretty irreverent for its time. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. When The Simpsons first came out, people were like, oh, I mean, here's Bart talking to his parents that don't have a cowman or
Eat my
saying
shorts.
things, eat my shorts. Like how dare him talk to adults like that? And I mean, and now of course we have, of course, not even more irreverent than Family Guy, South Park. I mean, it's grown. And I love South Park too, by the way.
Who doesn't?
Definitely. Yeah. But that movie, I've never laughed as hard anyway. So, but The Simpsons is like the I Love Lucy of its generation. Like it established something. Back in the day, the Flintstones was like really the first full length at night sitcom cartoon that was on prime time. And then you had the Jetsons, and this was my childhood. Well, a little before my childhood. I'm not that old. But and that was like what was on. My childhood was like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and that hour in the Saturday mornings. Um, but then the Simpsons came around in the late 80s, and it threw everything open. And Matt Groening's animation was different. Everything about the characters was different. The voice actors are awesome. Um, there's not one bad thing I can say about that show, and there's a reason why it's had so many iconic guest stars being on that show. And Hank Azaria, when he was on The Simpsons, it was before he was on Mad About You. And when I remember watching Mad About You for the first time, and I love that. That was the Helen Hunt, Paul Reiser comedy in the '90s. He was on that show, and I was like, oh, that's the voice from that. And then eh, you think more it's about The Simpsons than anything else. So yeah,
Speaking of Hank
I
Azaria, did you ever watch his baseball show on IFC?
I have seen bits and pieces.
He is
It's so
hilarious. It
funny.
is so funny.
He's like the
If
Bob Uecker
if
of our
if you guys
generation.
if you like Hank Azaria, check out his baseball show.
I
It is
remember the '70s.
hysterical.
Bob Uecker was pretty
IFC. It's
funny.
called Brockmire.
Brockmeyer.
Brockmire. It's great. It's really funny.
Speaking of
Hank
Bob
Azaria is
Uecker,
great.
real quick, Bob Uecker. Paul Skeens did his first games. The Pirates were facing the Brewers, and he actually asked for Bob Uecker to meet Bob Uecker. That's pretty cool to
That's
me.
awesome.
Bob
That's awesome.
Uecker, you remember Mr. Belvedere? Oh no,
No,
but when
that's
I
a
was
little. I mean, I knew of it, but
stop it, don't do that.
no, I
But
haven't. You know what
Mr.
it is.
Belvedere, Bob Uecker was on Mr. Belvedere after he
Yeah,
retired from baseball and at the Uke. I love Bob Uecker.
and
Um,
Major League,
Major League, so fun. He's
the
such a good
best.
actor. He's and not every baseball player translates to comedy, but he did a really good job. Better than Reggie Jackson and Naked Gun. I'm just saying.
When Charlie
You
Sheen
remember
first
that?
comes in and starts being wild, that's classic Bob Uecker. Ball 4, ball 8, ball 12. Man, how do guys keep laying off pitches that close? And
Oh
not
my
one pitch
god.
was anywhere near. They're all completely terrible.
And folks, these are examples of conversations that Charlie, I, and all the rest of our true crew would have until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We just talk about our favorite, and it just brings a smile to your face. I mean, we both have these bright smiles on our faces because it's just something that we kind of enjoy to talk about. And life is too short to kind of be serious all the time. You got to have your fun and the stuff. That's why we do
Absolutely.
this podcast. It's about what do we enjoy out of life, and definitely that is one of them. So you collect, and I know this about you. We talked in depth and we've done unboxings on this show. You collect Funko Pops. Would you say that you have every Simpsons character or
I don't have no. I probably I'm gonna say no, easily no. I probably don't. I don't have as many Simpsons Funkos as you probably would think I
more
have, but
sports?
just a variety. I have more bobbleheads than Funkos, but I
Nice.
probably have a good amount of Simpsons. I've got
I can't wait to see this
bunch
collection, by the way.
a bunch of Halloween ones and regular ones, and the Homer sitting at the TV. The classic.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. I've seen like through the years, they've had like sets where it's like the whole family together on the couch.
Yeah,
How they have the family on the couch in the beginning of the opening shot and that kind of
I
thing.
have the
So
whole family in one of the Halloween
I
seasons.
love that. So one of the hmm, right there behind me. Um yeah, I would say those are my favorite episodes, by the way, the Halloween ones, because I think Treehouse of Horror, all the Treehouse of Horror apps. And because they became more irreverent during those because they had like the envelope to go
And
further
they kept
because it
exactly they
was
kept one upping each year.
yeah. It's like and one year Bart was like
And they're always such
a
great
vampire
spoofs
and
too.
it's the funniest thing. Like, yeah. I looked forward to the Treehouse of Horror episodes definitely. So I would
Yeah,
say those
and I think too, even Family Guy to an extent. I know that everyone has their own way, but Family Guy kind of took a little in the sense that the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes, they would always be like a normal episode's like 22, 24 minutes, but the Treehouse of Horror would be three like 7 or 8 minute little stories. And then Family Guy didn't do it with Halloween episodes, but they would do their little 3 or 4 episodes where they would do spoofs of old movies and things like that. So I think they do take a little bit from it, which I love.
I love that, and they're both Fox shows, so they kind of I think there's I've heard Seth MacFarlane talk before about how much of an influence Matt Groening was to him. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's this
I
definite
see it for
mutual
sure.
appreciation.
Absolutely.
Um
Because they're
now,
so good at they reference all the things together, like that. So
I think to Seth MacFarlane's credit, I think he is a real natural comedian. Like the stuff he does is just genuinely funny.
yeah,
Ted is an example of that.
not to mention his voices.
Yeah, and the voices are amazing. Like he does, like Stewie, and I mean, he does like most of the voices. I think too, what it is he does his writing. He does a good job of always having kind of a straight person there who's like the butt of the joke, kind of, and it works. It's just the way it bounces off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if
I love it.
you ever wanted to see him in action doing the voices, I want to say it was either Seth Meyers or one of the late night shows he was on. He says he sits there and he says, "Okay, Stewie, okay," and he just
He
in
does it.
order, he just switches
Crazy.
all in one motion. It's wild to see him do it.
How? How? Like that's talent.
He's very
That's
talented.
man. Um, so I mean, you're a big I would say so fandom wise, and we're talking non-sports fandom right now because you guys kind of know about our sports fandom. Um, I would say my biggest fandom and surprise is probably game shows. Not that we met
I'm
on a
not
game
surprised
show.
by that.
um, I grew up, I'll say this, I'm a kid of the I was born in 1971. Surprise, I'm old, I'm ancient. So I grew up so I mean, I was first like noticing life, I guess. It's like 75, 76. I was 5 or 6 years old. And I remember the late 70s watching a couple of game shows, but where I really remember the game shows is in the 1980s. And I used to, when I was stayed home from school, I remember seeing Bob Barker, for example, on The Price is Right. And I remember, seeing Sale of the Century. It was a game show hosted by Jim Perry. It was pop culture based where they would answer questions and earn like really small amounts, but they get to buy these bargains. That's Sale of the Century. It was really a good show. And Press Your Luck, of course, which is it's out. Big Bucks and Whammies, Peter Tomarkin. They had Michael Larson, who they were doing a movie about, who basically memorized the entire board and was able to pull off $110,000 from the show, which I will tell you in 1983, when those episodes, they had to split into two episodes because it went so long over time and they never did that. $110,000 was a crazy amount of money in 1983. No game show gave away that much money. Um, so that's going to be a movie actually that's coming out, which I'm definitely interested in.
That's cool.
Um, but anyway, so I used to like stay home from school and watch these game shows, and I used to turn to my mom and say, they're making two, three, $4,000 in a half-hour episode. Like, I like that gig. I was always about, listen, me and sweepstakes, and I was always about trying to find the shortest cut to making the biggest amount, the biggest impact, right? And so growing up, I always had in my back of my mind, I want to go on game shows, I want to go on game shows, I want to go on game shows. And I used to just be in these game show when the internet was new, Usenet was a thing. I used to join these game show forum things, and 1999 came along, and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was out, and it was a big craze. I mean, I remember going to McDonald's, getting all these millionaire cups because McDonald's was a sponsor, and I would call the 800 number and never had any luck. And then they started doing the auditions, and that's how we know this. And I talked about it before how I got on the show, but that was a whole fandom. And in game shows to this day, back in those days in early 2000s, there was something called the Game Show Congress, and it was like a gathering in Beverly Hills every year of game show fans and also
Like a fan
hosts,
expo, so to
kind
speak.
of like that, but it was even more intimate. It was basically us having lunch with like game show hosts, and we would also do these games in side rooms and play game show games, which was unbelievably fun and nerdy and absolutely right up my alley. And I still have friends to this day. Jason, shout out Jason Block, who was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Is one of my buddies. He was a Yankee fan, but that's another story. Anyway, so we used to have these game show games, but let me tell you, the first game show congress I went to, I'm going to tell you who was in the luncheon with me, literally in the table right next to me. At this table, it's going to blow your mind. Betty White, um, Jack Norris, not Jack Norris, Tom Kennedy, his brother, Tom Kennedy, who was a game show host, Password, and um, here's the bigger names. Some guy named Bob Barker
I knew
was
that was
at the
coming.
table. And the biggest name probably, and who spoke eloquently, Dick Clark.
Wow.
And I cannot tell you, and it was like $50 to attend. It was nothing. How grateful I was to be in the room with these people that were getting older, were no longer with us, just to remember that and have that experience. And I remember Erica went with me, and I remember turning to her and go, can you believe that we're looking at Dick Clark at the next table? Like, it was just, and as a game show kid growing up, it just shows you that, I don't mean to get sappy, but it shows you that if you have dreams and if you like something, you can make stuff happen. Like you can do that you like. And I eventually, I got on the game shows and did those too. But it's just, if you're and this is to the audience, if you're a fan of anything, go for it. Go to the Comic-Con, spend the money, fly to the place that has your favorite person signing an autograph. Do it. Like, what are you waiting for? What are you planning for tomorrow? You know what I mean? Like, just do it. Have fun. That's my public service
Have you
announcements.
had any wild run-ins like that? I know you've won sweepstakes and things for some cool
Yeah,
things, but what about just like in out of
yeah.
the blue?
I've had pop culture run-ins. I'll tell you a couple of them.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Um, so we won a trip to the Oscars from our local Fox station here, and they flew us first class to we stayed at the Beverly Hilton. That's a hotel where unfortunately Whitney Houston several years later passed away. That's where the Golden Globes is held. So we stayed at the Beverly Hilton. That's not the run-in, by the way. And I'm going up the elevator in the Beverly Hilton, and I'm turning to my left and there's this very distinguished gentleman, and I recognize him immediately. Anybody who's into pop culture would recognize him immediately. I turn to Erica, I'm like this, doing the old elbow bump, and she's like, "What? What?" I'm like, "Don't make it obvious. Don't like." I'm like, "That's Sir Ben Kingsley."
Oh
And
wow.
Gandhi, Sir Ben Kingsley is right there. And he was literally standing right next to me. I turn to him, I go, "Nice to meet you, Sir Ben." And he goes like this. "Nice to meet you as well." Something like that. I was like, I love my life. And that trip was epic for a number of reasons. Never mind the people we saw on the red carpet. I don't count that because we were in that situation, and there's pictures like Meg Ryan, Dennis Quaid, the whole thing. I'm talking about outside of that context. We went to, and this restaurant's no longer there. It closed a number of years ago, but there's this restaurant in Beverly Hilton. At the Beverly Hilton, there was a restaurant called Trader Vic's, and we were at a table. They were paying for our dinner, and we were with other contestants that were there that won, other sweepstakes winners that won from all over the country. And they hear, do you hear that voice? That voice sounds familiar. And I'm like, it does. And again, my game show radar went off. This is before I met this person at the game show Congress. So you know where this is kind of going. And I listen and I turn, and it's Betty White having a conversation. And her person, whoever she's talking to, walks away. And I'm like, I have to do this. I get up and I'm like, "Excuse me, Miss White." She goes, "Yes, yes." She says something like, I go, "I'm so sorry to disturb you. I just had to tell you and I know you hear this all the time." I go, "I am absolutely an amazing, I adore you. I'm a big fan, amazing fan of yours." And I'm like, "From the Golden Girls, yes, of course, we all know that, but you and your husband on Password, the late, I didn't say this, but Alan Ludden was her husband. He hosted Password." And I go, "You just are the iconic." She goes, "Oh, aren't you sweet?" And she proceeds to do this and gives me a hug. And I'm like, "Well, thank you, Miss White. I just want to say," and I didn't get a picture, but I was like, "Thank you, Miss White. I so appreciate your time." And it's
That's
those
so cool.
moments, you know what I mean? Like that was, and of course I had lunch with Paula Abdul. I won a trip I mean, not trip. I won a
Played one-on-one with Alonzo
workout.
Mourning.
Yeah, I done some cool stuff in the pop culture world for sure. So yeah, I mean, we've talked, we've had these conversations. I'm a big proponent in philosophy of that life is short. I don't mean to get like, I don't want to get grim or whatever, but we have one life. You do the stuff that makes you happy. Travel, take the trip, spend the time with your loved one. It's those memories that are going to sustain all of us. And when times get tough, and they will in life, because that's life and that's what happens. But it's those memories that really kind of sustain us. And I hold fondly that time that we had in Atlanta for 2.5 weeks. Quite frankly, and I've done some fun things, but it's one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Not because of what we did, because what we were like, our group, and kind of just hanging out. And we're in this rinky dink hotel in Lithia Springs, Georgia, but it was that bonding kind of experience that we had. And it's wild when you're away from family for the most part, and you just have the people that are in front of you to talk to that you just met, how people kind of become friends and whatnot. And so that's why I audition for game shows. I don't audition for game shows to win a ton of money. I mean, that's always a benefit, and I would love to do that. Don't get me wrong, but it's for the experience of that. It's kind of where I'm at.
Definitely.
I definitely in a couple of months have more to talk about with that, but you know, that's what that's all about.
You're climbing your way up to that pop culture Ferris Bueller moment. Nine times.
Nine.
You're working your way up there.
Hey, I'm only at four, but I'm trying for five. That's the goal, right? The goal is to try for five. I'm
Yeah.
hoping soon. Who knows? Um, but yeah, it does that make sense what I said? I'm sorry
Of
I was
course.
preaching and
Yeah, of
stuff, but
course. No, it
I
made perfect
just
sense.
I
Couldn't
just,
agree
the
more.
older I get, the more reflective I get about what's important. And, I'm a big collector, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, it's stuff that is meaningful to us, but it's stuff and it's those experiences that really matter. That's kind of where I'm at. But yeah. Um, I have a lot of stuff though. I'm trying to start to, I'm trying to start to sell a little bit, not because I don't like it, but because again,
You need to make
priorities
room for more
change.
new things.
Yeah, and priorities change as well. So yeah. So I'd say, the game shows is definitely my thing. Back to the Future, I have a pretty decent collection. I have a really cool piece of Marty McFly, a picture of Marty McFly wearing his jeans with his Walkman sticking out of it. And I bought this piece years ago on eBay where this person matted a pair of jeans with a Walkman sticking out of it below it. So the photo, it's actually a signed photo, Michael J. Fox, PSA authentic, the real deal. And below it is framed is a pair of jeans. It's the coolest piece.
That's
Um,
crazy.
that's kind of stuff I have. Like I have stuff like that, and um, yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find it. Um,
Yeah,
I also have,
you have everything around the sun. Back to the Future.
I have the poster, the original poster that was actually in a theater for Back to the Future 2, like not a reprint, like the actual photo. That's a cool piece. And Back to the Future 2, if for anybody who doesn't know, it's definitely my favorite movie. I like one, but two is my favorite of the franchise.
Two,
I
one,
know
three is your order.
I've said one, two, three before, but I thought about that. It's really two,
It's
one,
two,
three.
one, three.
It is. It really is. Most people are like, what?
As I
But
think
yeah.
most people would say, as long as three is three, you're probably fine.
Here's this is the poster, but I'll find the other stuff at some point. But yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah,
that's it.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
So I mean, other than the Simpsons, what like your I know you're a big sports guy like me. Do you have another kind of pop culture focus that you have, or
I have a lot of Marvel. I have a lot of Marvel
I
Funkos.
love Marvel too. We talked about my comic book love. Well,
Yeah.
what's your favorite Marvel? What would you say your favorite Marvel character is?
Oh man, that's tough. Well, yeah,
Can I guess?
yeah, you can guess.
Knowing you for how long we've known each other, 9 months or so, something like that.
Almost a year, yeah.
Yeah, can't wait for that. I would say you seem like a Deadpool kind of guy.
I like Deadpool a lot,
Okay.
but I he's probably not number
Wolverine?
one. Number so
All right, yeah, I'm sorry.
number one, I'll say okay, it'll give it away. It'll give it away too quickly.
All right,
But
yeah. Let's do an unboxing of your character. So let me try to guess. All right.
it's I'll say it's not a main character,
Oh, that's gonna be harder. Okay.
but it's not. I mean, it's when
Is it
I
an
say it's
Avenger?
technically yes.
Is it male or female?
I don't know how to answer that.
Oh, huh. Okay.
How about this? Use some context. What did we name our dog?
Rocky Raccoon,
Okay, now you're close.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, yes,
I got the
but
franchise. Okay,
yes,
because your Rocket
Rocket's
is your.
probably number two. Who's Rocket's best friend? And think back to the question you asked, and I'll
Oh,
answer.
the being with the head that's squishy. I forget
He's
the
a
name of it.
tree. He's a tree.
Yes,
Groot.
I forget the name. Groot. Groot.
I am Groot.
Oh, I
So
love that.
Groot is our favorite for
I
sure.
love that. Rosie's
And
too.
yes,
Oh,
especially baby Groot.
I love that.
And we thought we should name our dog Groot, but then when we got her, we're like, she doesn't look like a Groot.
I feel like you've
Um,
told me this story,
but
but you go
Rocket and
ahead.
Groot are best friends, so it seemed like a natural
I
adjustment.
love that.
Yeah, so I would say Groot and Rocket are probably the favorites.
Oh, so thank you for the clue because I was able to,
Yeah,
when
but
I went to Guardians right away.
a tree. So when you
A tr-
said is the character
yeah,
male or female, I
Mel.
said, well, a tree. It's a tree.
um, gonna say I'm gonna self-admit something I'm not gonna like to do in front of you. Then you
Who's
ready?
your favorite? Yeah, let's hear it.
No, you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say.
Oh no.
I've never
It's like a bad guy. Oh, you've never seen
I've
Guardians
never
of the
seen
Galaxy?
Guardians of the.
Oh man, hey, you're doing yourself a major disservice.
Can you believe that? Now I know the
That's
characters because I have the comics.
You're doing
I've
yourself
shown you.
such a major
I've shown
disservice.
you. I've had the Guardians of the Galaxy comics. I have never seen the movie.
You are doing yourself such a disservice, Tim. Man,
What is wrong with me?
what is wrong with you?
Dude,
That's got to be moved up to on your
I
list
told
quickly.
you that you wouldn't like to hear this.
You're
It
right.
is it is
You
Harry
undersold that.
Potter? No. I have never seen the Guardians of the
Both of
Galaxy.
those need to go way up your list.
Oh
Oh
man.
man.
I sense a
For someone
screening in
who's supposed to be a
Chicago.
pop culture person, come on. Guardians
I'm
of the
you know what?
Galaxy.
I'm gonna have to
Oh
watch it on the
man.
plane to Chicago.
You probably have to watch it before then. I don't know if you'll be
Oh
able to
my
make it that
god,
far.
dude.
Then you'll understand.
And I like Chris Pratt from like the Jurassic Park and of course Parks and Rec. I mean, I've never
You have Dave Bautista.
Dave Batista, I know.
You got Bradley Cooper. You've got Vin Diesel.
Hangover. Oh, Fast and Furious, your favorite franchise?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. You got it. You got it.
That's your favorite franchise, right?
Said no one ever, except for one person,
Except for your friend.
except for BJ's.
Oh man. So all right, I'll have to move it up.
You
I
have to
will.
move it up. That's actually,
You think you like the way I self-report?
shocked. I'm
I,
shocked at that, honestly.
please don't tell Rosie. I don't want her to be disappointed in me.
Oh man. Yeah. Well,
She'll probably listen to this podcast going, we can't have
hopefully
this guy visit
uh,
us.
hopefully you'll have finished it before then, so we don't have to have broach
Oh
that subject.
no. Oh God. Is it on Hulu?
It's on Disney Plus, all of them,
All right, I'll check it out.
all of them.
How many are there?
There's only
Three?
three. There's
Yeah,
only
there's
three,
three. See, I
but
knew that.
every single Marvel anything is on Disney Plus.
And I'm a Marvel fan. That's
I know
crazy,
that's
right?
honestly wild. That should be what you watch tonight after at least the first one.
To our audience, it's 2 o'clock in the morning
Yeah, I know.
Eastern
I was
time.
joking. I was joking.
Oh my God. All right. So I'll definitely, this has turned into a therapy session. We're supposed to
Yeah.
talk about our collectibles.
And now it's turned into. I think I need it now, knowing that you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
Stop. Don't make me
Man.
feel bad. Dude,
Oh
don't make me
man.
feel bad. Wow. Like, I
How
don't
have you
want to
not
co-host.
seen it?
I
It's
don't
so
want to
good.
You know when Charlie's voice gets high, it's
It's
how
so good. I
is
can't believe
Charlie's
it.
like, I don't know how I can co-host this podcast with this guy anymore.
Oh man.
Oh, okay. I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
All right.
that
All
was a
right.
tough one to hear.
That was wow. Wow. Oh, I'll go into hiding at this moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard a. All right, I will listen to it.
Put it
I
on the
will.
list real high. Real
Like
high on the
the
list.
first three movies on the list,
I mean,
and
you
then
don't have
followed
to
by
go.
what?
You can
Harry
mix in. You
Potter.
can mix in some other things, but it's got to be up on that list.
Oh
It's
my
a.
god,
Those are fun ones. I'm telling you, you'll enjoy those. That's
I'm
one
looking
where
forward to it.
you won't be in theaters, but you can make some popcorn.
That's always a good thing. Um, anything else you want to talk about in the collectible world?
No, I think I'm too shattered over the
I
card.
think I'm sorry.
I'm just
All
shattered.
right, folks, I have a homework assignment. Hopefully by the next episode, I think I have enough time
I think
that I can
so.
watch three movies
Those are so good that you might watch them in one sitting
before next week.
easily.
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 Next week, of course, our August 1st episode, we come back and a lot of good stuff has been going on. We have to talk about that mole finale. What did you think of that? Wasn't that crazy? We'll have
We
to talk
can't
about the
spoil
mole
it.
finale. We won't spoil. I cannot believe the way that worked out. And of course, the first, I don't understand this Big Brother. Artificial intelligence. Like, what is going on? I'm confused. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the move-in and everything else, and next week on Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your hosts.
Charlie Seymour.
And I am the guy who has not seen Guardians of the Galaxy yet, but will, Tim Sternberg. Until next time, everybody. See you next week.
I'm so glad you did that because I was gonna do it too.
So long, everybody. Bye.